Hello there and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are covering the Week 13 Pick'em and predictions. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more NFL content. So without further ado, let's jump into it here and look at the bye weeks. We have Carolina and we have Arizona as our bye weeks. They will not be a part of this Pick'em. We'll take a look at how we did last week. Overall, we had a very, very nice last week. Last week collectively, Sheldon ended up getting two more games on me, so he is narrowing the gap as we currently speak. Taking a look at the Thursday night game, we have the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. This is a good matchup here. New England is coming off of a loss against Minnesota, in which they were, fairly competitive. They were right there until the end. Buffalo, another close game, with the Lions. So after a long week's rest for these teams, this is going to be a good matchup to watch. Bill Belichick versus Josh Allen is always a head storyline that we have in this interdivisional matchup. Two teams that are, fighting for playoff positioning. They're fighting for the division. The Jets are right in there. This is a good contested matchup. I think Buffalo will be able to get the job done on the road going into New England, which is a tough place to play, and let alone win. Buffalo should have a good game plan, put together for this one. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Mac Jones to have to make some throws to the perimeter, and I think that's really what the difference maker is in this game. They're going to take away the running element potentially for the Patriots and make them throw. Buffalo's got a really good defense, so overall they got playmakers all over the place, and I think they get the job done. Now, if we take a look at the Sunday slate, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. A tough game to pick, in my opinion. When you look at these two teams, it's hard to narrow down exactly what they are. Atlanta is fighting for the division. Once again, you have them and Tampa Bay vying for the NFC South. Two competitive teams. It should be a competitive game, rather. I just think they're evenly matched teams. Pittsburgh, with the sheer fact that they're trying to regain some positioning here, I just felt a little more confidence in Atlanta being the home team. I think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively, and also, the big key in this one is, can you put a lot of pressure on Kenny Pickett? And ultimately, I think Atlanta should be opportunistic with some potential turnovers. Therefore, that's why I went with Atlanta. Once again, not one of the easier games to pick this week. The next one here is Denver and Baltimore. Denver, I'm very, very shocked with how poor they've played so far this season. Offensively, they've struggled mightily. Defensively, they're so good. I mean, that's a really, really good defensive unit that they have. I think they're going to have their hands full with Lamar Jackson on the ground. Lamar Jackson is so dynamic, and he continues to get better as a passer as his career progresses. And you can just see the maturity with him. But at the end of the day, I think when you look at where Baltimore's at here, they're coming off of a tough loss against Jacksonville, where Jacksonville ends up going for the 2-point conversion and the win. It was a great game to watch, but Baltimore fans, I'm sure they're very, very disappointed because it definitely could have helped them position well in the AFC seeding. There are definitely some things that were a little concerning at the end of that one, especially that last drive. I felt they were sitting back a little bit too much. Should have played, Jacksonville upright more. But at the end of the day, they were trying to play prevent. They were trying not to give up that big play. And ultimately, Trevor Lawrence, orchestrated a very nice drive at the end of that one. I think that Baltimore gets the job done at home. Denver's got to find themselves offensively. Otherwise, they really don't stand a chance in the remaining games, just because this is just, it's been inexcusable for Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, this group, with how bad they've been to this point in the season. You would have figured maybe a little bit of early season struggles, but it continues onward. Next game here is the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. When I look at the Packers Bears, I think about Aaron Rodgers historically against the Bears. He's had a lot of success. This year is not like other years, though, for Aaron Rodgers. They're struggling across the board. But at the end of the day, I think that they can definitely go into Chicago and get the victory here. Chicago, still pending the health of Justin Fields. We don't know where he's going to be at. And at the point in this game when we're recording this video, we don't know his overall health. I think Green Bay should take care of business. Even if Justin Fields is playing, I actually have a weird amount of confidence in Green Bay. going on the road. And I know this is kind of a hotter take because people are liking what Chicago's offense looks like with a Justin Fields that's been running the ball effectively, but I do think Green Bay should take that one. The following game here, we got Jacksonville and Detroit. When you look at Detroit, they've been much better the last couple of weeks. But I think in this one, it's really going to be a difference to me. Can Detroit stop Jacksonville's rushing attack? When you look at what Jacksonville has to offer, Travis Etienne is a dangerous weapon. Once again, we don't know the exact health of him at the point of recording for this game, but let's operate under the idea that he does play in this one. I could see the Detroit Lions still, taking the victory here. Just because, their offense has been good, has been very good. And I think they're going to expose some of the weaknesses in this Jacksonville secondary that has been kind of plaguing them for quite some time. However, Jacksonville's coming off of a very nice win against Baltimore. But at the end of the day, I have some confidence in the Lions to take care of business. Sheldon opted to go against me here, and he went with the Jags. The next game, Houston Texans and the Cleveland Browns. Oddly enough, with Deshaun Watson's return, we both end up going with the Browns. I just think that this is a much different team with Deshaun Watson versus Jacoby Brissett. Now, the key thing is here, he hasn't played for a long time, a year and a half essentially without football. So it's going to be knocking off some of the rust. It could be an ugly game for him potentially, and maybe Houston sneaks this one out. But at the end of the day, I think that the Browns are a better team on paper. Hypothetically, they should win this one. I think emotions are going to be high on both sidelines. Whether it's Deshaun Watson or just the Houston Texans in general, they're going to want to prove they made the right decision by trading him away. At the end of the day, we both opted to go with the Browns. The following game is one of controversy, in my opinion. It's the New York Jets taking on the Minnesota Vikings. When you look at the New York Jets, I think they offer a good counterpunch to what Minnesota has to offer offensively. Jets defense is terrific. You look at that secondary, you look at the front seven, all across the board, they got some really, really good and talented players. Sauce Gardner is going to be a high impact player in this one. Very well could see him on Jefferson a good majority of those snaps. Justin Jefferson, they're going to move him around. They're going to do a lot of different things with him. But if they aren't able to get him going, it's going to have to come up with KJ Osborne. It's going to have to be Adam Thielen making big plays in the absence of Jefferson. If he's being essentially taken out of the game, which Robert Saleh does a good job taking out your best player as an opposing team. And at the end of the day, that's why I picked the Jets. Despite them being on the road, Minnesota's been hot this year, but they are vulnerable. They are definitely vulnerable. And I think this is a situation where the Jets could sneak out this game. In my opinion, I think that's a very, very possible outcome. Kirk Cousins is going to be under duress a lot in this game. The Jets throw a lot of different looks at you, and I think that's, once again, one of those difference makers for the Minnesota Vikings. Keeping Kirk clean, it's a whole different story than if he's got, quite a bit of pressure. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's not a guy that's able to, maneuver the rush well. And therefore, I think could make for a very, very long afternoon for Kirk Cousins. Sheldon opted to go against that, and he ends up picking the Minnesota Vikings. Next game here, we got the Commanders taking on the New York Giants. Sheldon goes with the Commanders. I go with the Giants at home. Commanders have been playing really, really hot football. The New York Giants have sizzled off a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think they have a good competitive football team. But Washington is that team to watch in that NFC East. All of a sudden, the entire NFC East is lighting it up. Record-wise, this is a really, really good division when you look across the board. So I think Washington is a team that people were not giving enough respect to. And then all of a sudden, Taylor Heineke comes in, and it's a whole different story. So can you really blame Ron Rivera with the decision to stay with Taylor Heineke? Granted, the amount of winning that has been happening. He's a guy that the numbers don't look pretty. The eye test might not be ideal, but he wins football games. There's something special about him and the chemistry with this offense that really makes it work out. At the end of the day, though, I still pick the Giants. The Giants scare me in that receiving core a little bit, but they are at home, and they should have a nice game plan for when Washington comes to town. Following game is Tennessee taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles are a very popular pick, just based off the success we've seen so far this year. Watching their games, this team wins convincingly. But this is a good test for Philly. I think Tennessee coming in to Philly is a tough environment for everybody, for that Tennessee sideline. But at the end of the day, I have some questions about this passing game. Philadelphia's got a really, really good secondary, but it's very possible they get punished on the ground a little bit by Derrick Henry. However, that Eagles front seven's good. So I don't have a ton of question marks about that. We both agreed that it should be the Eagles at home, so that is the route we're going. Now we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the LA Rams and another split here. You're going to see a lot of these in this video, but Seattle is my pick. Sheldon opts to go with the Rams. Reason I go with Seattle, just like what they have a little bit more. We don't know the overall status of, some of the injuries that LA is currently facing. When you look across the QB position, you look, there's so many different areas where they are lacking. Their offensive line has been very, very atrocious this year. I think it's the kindest way to put it. They have not looked good along that O-line, and it's really made their running game suffer. So I think that trend continues here. I think Seattle gets the job done on the road. I've been big on picking the Rams, and I'm kind of shying away from that. Has not worked out so far this year for the defending Super Bowl champions. So taking the Rams on the road, in my opinion, is taking the Seahawks on the road against the Rams is a wise pick if you are going to take an away team. Seattle just has what it takes, in my opinion. I was not a believer early on in the season, but they are starting to kind of change my mind and perspective with how I view this roster. Next game, we have the Miami Dolphins taking on the San Francisco 49ers, and this was another tough game to pick. I opt to go with the Miami Dolphins on the road. Now, when I look at how explosive they are offensively, that's the big difference maker here. Miami does a really, really good job putting up a ton of points. And, Tyreek Hill's absence potentially in this game could be the difference maker. If that news comes out that Tyreek Hill is out, and then I'm flipping my pick to San Fran. I'm sure San Fran is favored in this one, considering they're at home. They've been playing really good football as of late, so don't be surprised if the Niners steal some thunder. Kansas City Chiefs take on the Cincinnati Bengals, and pretty easy for us here. We've been picking the Chiefs pretty consistently, and that trend continues. The Bengals, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. I really like what the Bengals have to offer, but the Kansas City Chiefs have just been playing better football, and that's just the case in point here. I think that when you have to try to stop this offense, it makes for a long afternoon for any of these defenses. I think that Cincinnati is going to be a little susceptible here to giving up some big plays, and that very well could be the difference maker in this one. Now we got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you look at this one here, I think that the Chargers are a team that we definitely have to consider as a tough one to peg in terms of pick 'em, because they've had some injuries. This team is better than their record suggests. They're one of the more talented teams in the NFL. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and they should be, they should be the pick a lot of the weeks. However, they have not proven to be that team because they've had some of those injuries. You can point your fingers a lot of different ways, but Brandon Staley definitely is deserving of some of that. Now, I'm not a Brandon Staley hater. I'm just saying that there has been some concerns when you look at, what this team is, but I do like the Chargers regardless here against the Raiders. I know the Raiders the last couple of seasons have kind of had the Chargers number a little bit, especially in some clutch games, but at the end of the day, I still see the Chargers getting it done. Now we got the primer. Indianapolis Colts take on the Dallas Cowboys. For me, this is a no-brainer. I think the Cowboys are going to get the job done at home. We've seen some really good things out of this team the last couple of weeks. That Minnesota game was a prime example of an absolute stomping. So Dallas taking on Indy. I just don't like Indy's offense that much with Matt Ryan. Jonathan Taylor offers a lot on the ground, but at the end of the day, I think Dallas is going to do a good job bottling that up, and they're going to have to throw to the perimeter here. Matt Ryan's going to have to make some big throws in this one. It's a primetime game, and I think the Cowboys are going to rise up to the occasion. Now, finally, we have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a Monday night primetime. And to me, when you look at the history of Tom Brady and the New Orleans Saints, this is not the same Saints teams that we've seen in the past. I think Tom Brady can get the job done, despite that, that loss to Cleveland. With Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I just don't see that being the case here with New Orleans. But Dennis Allen's had some really good game plans against Tom Brady, and maybe that trend continues here, but we both opt to go for the Bucs. good football team still, in my opinion. Some people might be wavering on that because of the record, but at the end of the day, I think they should be able to take care of business. They're still fighting for that division. There's a lot to play for, and Tom Brady's your quarterback. Thanks so much for stopping by. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, leave a like on today's video if you did enjoy the content. Really appreciate your time watching our videos. Let us know in the comments section below what's your favorite game of the week to watch. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.